Just before noon on Sunday, November 13th, 2022, a call came in to the Moscow, Idaho Police Department about a non-responsive person at 1122 King Road, an off-campus residence of the University of Idaho located near Greek Row. But when police arrived, what they would discover was far more grisly. Inside apartment 1122, were the slain bodies of 4 college students, Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mulgan, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle. This 911 call has left a lot of people wondering, especially because to describe a person as being unconscious or unresponsive without mentioning that they were brutally attacked and stabbed to death doesn't really make sense, right? The police, the coroner, and everyone who was inside that house said that the place was covered in blood. It's been said that these 2 surviving roommates called multiple friends to come over after they discovered the bodies, and that's when 911 was called. This seemed to have been confirmed through 911 transcripts because several people were on that 911 call speaking to the dispatcher, and the 911 call was made from one of the surviving roommates' phones, which was also confirmed. There's a lot of suspicion on the surviving roommates. People want to know, how can you sleep through 4 people being violently attacked and stabbed to death in the same house? What certainly doesn't help are the headlines that have now come out, such as the police being stumped as to how these 2 girls slept through this violent attack. Headlines talking about one of the girls posting to social media during the time of the attack, photos of the girls partying the night of the attack, and we're going to get into all of this, as usual, starting from the beginning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you are tuning in. This is Unapologetically Me, featuring me. No special guest, just me. Now, I'm sure by now most of you have heard about the Idaho 4 murders in Moscow, Idaho. If you haven't, where have you been? What rock have you been staying under? I'd like to know, because maybe I'd want to pay it a visit myself. I honestly cannot deal with some of this stuff anymore. It's getting out of hand. It's getting very scary. If you are new here, welcome. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Usually I am in person, but I have started doing some videos as a voiceover only because I have 4 children and it's very, very difficult for me to find a place to record that someone is not at. So anyway, many people are wondering how only 4 of 6 roommates were killed. They're also wondering how the surviving 2 roommates didn't hear the struggle that must have been going on in their own home. How can 2 people sleep through 4 people being brutally stabbed to death? It has also come out that Dylan, one of the surviving roommates, was posting on her VSCO account at the same exact time or shortly before the murders were taking place from inside the home. And in this video, we're going to be going over a few things because I believe it's important that these surviving roommates are given time to grieve. And I believe that the accusations and suspicions surrounding these 2 girls needs to stop. They are going to be dealing with a lifetime of traumatizing memories, and I can only assume survivor's guilt. They do not need to feel like they have to clear their name for this crime. I do believe they are going to find who did this. And at that point, of course, Bethany and Dylan's names will be cleared. But until that happens, I felt the need to put out a video in support of them. We're going to be going over the 911 call and what allegedly really happened, which will hopefully clear up some confusion. And we're going to be going over the layout of the home, as well as some other important information. This is an angle that I have not yet seen talked about. There may be someone else talking about these 2, but I haven't seen it at the time that I began researching for this video. Bethany and Dylan, I got you. I'm going to do my best to try to give you some peace so that you can begin to heal. 2 of my daughters have been following this case on TikTok, and I have warned them about TikTok and a lot of false information that can circulate there. They don't always do a lot of research. They hear something, they post something. They don't hear something and go look to make sure if it's true first. But there are a lot of very good true crime TikTokers out there as well who do their research. And so I just like to weed through it, and I tell my girls the same. But if you have something for me, send it to me. I'll look at it. I'll try to fact check it and I'll use it. Well, so I was sent a few things. A lot of them were not very factual, but they did lead me to this, what I'm going to be talking about first in this video. And like I said, TikTok has a lot of false information circulating, but I did want to share this because it would make perfect sense. This was posted on TikTok by Cold Case 447, and I don't know who that is. I don't really go on TikTok, so I'm not sure who this is, but they posted this last week. I'm just going to read you what the TikTok says. I don't know if any of this has ever been confirmed, but it does make sense as to why this 911 call was so weird. And it answers questions about the rumors that we have heard about the roommates calling other kids to come over and check the victims before calling 911. So according to this, that was not the case at all. This is how mainstream media can fuel fires rather than put them out. Remember, again, this is all alleged. Two people who claimed to be at the house with the roommates when the bodies were discovered quickly came to the surviving roommate's defense and wrote that the roommates woke up, went upstairs to the kitchen, and noticed the sliding glass door was open. And it was during that time one of the roommates discovered Ethan. She didn't say where he was found on that floor, but that it was so horrific that both of the girls went into shock and ran out of the house. One of the roommates fainted and the other was beyond hysterical and not making any sense. Their frantic actions while coming out of the house caught the attention of people walking past. The people responded on the victim's Instagram, claiming to be two of those people. They implied that the roommate who fainted had already dialed 911, but was so distraught she fainted before she could give any info that the dispatcher could even understand. The only information that the bystander who picked up the roommate's phone could give the 911 dispatcher was that she just saw her friend run out of the house and faint. So that's how the 911 call was made on the roommate's phone and by someone else. So that's why the call initially went out for an unconscious or unresponsive person. While that bystander was on the phone with 911, the other roommate was hysterically trying to explain that something was wrong with Ethan. By this point, several more people had stopped to see what was happening, and one or two of them went into the house to see if they could help Ethan. There were multiple people in the yard at that time, and those people began contacting their friends that someone in the house was badly hurt. Someone called Ethan's brother, Hunter, to tell him something was wrong with his brother because he lived close to the house in one of the fraternities. And someone called one of the other victims' boyfriends, as he was also Ethan's best friend. So I'm not sure who that boyfriend is and who the victim is and who Ethan's best friend was. They didn't go into detail if either of those two boys had arrived before the paramedics, but it did kind of sound like they may have. Now, Ethan was a triplet, and both of his other siblings were at the same college. His sister was in a sorority, and Ethan's brother Hunter was in a fraternity. So they lived right along Greek Row. I believe Sigma Chi was right across the street. They also didn't say if anyone went to check on the other roommates before paramedics arrived, but it is somewhat implied that someone had. The only details they gave about the scene itself was that it was incomprehensible and bloody. While those people were in the house checking on Ethan and possibly the other roommates, the paramedics arrived to a very chaotic scene, believing that they were there only to assess an unconscious person outside, but they were immediately redirected to go inside to help someone who was hurt very badly. So they walked into the house, unaware that it was a crime scene, contaminating most of everything on the second floor. It does not sound like the roommates were roaming throughout the house, carelessly contaminating everything, fully aware that their friends had been murdered. It sounds like the scene was contaminated by numerous people who were just trying to help, completely unaware and unable to comprehend what they were looking at, and that it was a crime scene. It sounds like the two surviving roommates' behaviors were 100% appropriate for the situation they found themselves in. So after reading this, I think a lot more makes sense. And as far as them sleeping through it, I don't know what Dylan and Bethany were doing that night as far as consumption of anything. It did appear from photos that I know there was a formal. They called it Betty's Ball. And I believe that was going on that night at Ethan's sister's sorority house. So I'm not sure. I think that's where they were, but I could be wrong. So I don't know if they were drinking, smoking anything. I don't know. But if they came home somewhat intoxicated and passed out, or they're just really hard sleepers, or they listen to a noise machine or have earbuds in while they sleep or whatever. There are so many reasons that they could have slept through this. Not only that, it was a house with roommates, and all of them were used to friends coming and going. It was said to be a party house. I'm sure they were very used to commotion and sleeping through it. And once you get used to sleeping through that type of stuff, it does become easier and easier. There were also former tenants of the home who were interviewed who all said it was very difficult, if not impossible, to hear what was going on the second and third levels of that house. So let's look at the layout of the house, which in my opinion explains even more how it's possible they didn't hear anything. And after that, we'll talk about the VSCO posts. This is the house from the front. The front portion is the original house, and the back of the house is actually an addition that was constructed more recently. The entire place was renovated in 2018 and 2019, and I'm not sure when it was originally built. I looked on Zillow, and the taxes begin in 2014, but it appears to look like it was built even before that, so I'm not sure. When looking straight at the front of the house, you can see the front door and 4 windows. The 2 windows at ground level would be Bethany and Dylan's bedrooms 1A and 1B. Up on the second level, you can see 2 more windows of bedrooms 2A and 2B. And that top portion sticking out above the second level would be the 3rd floor, and there are 3 more windows up there. 2 windows where bedrooms 3A and 3B on either side of the house, and that center window that I believe was like a hangout area, like a living room area. Here's a view from the side. You can see levels 1, 2, and 3. That small window on the second level is the kitchen window. And then you can see the second level sliding door, which is off of the kitchen. And this would be the point of entry that many believe is most likely. There are 2 main doors to this home, the front door and this sliding glass door. It's likely that they didn't lock this sliding door because it was probably the main door that 4 of the 6 victims used most. And I'm only taking a guess here, thinking that Bethany and Dylan probably used the front door more than anyone else because that's where their bedrooms were. We have heard many accounts from residents of Moscow that they didn't lock their doors. Many of them didn't lock their doors. They never felt the need to. And that it had been 7 years since a crime like this took place, and even that was not of this magnitude. Going back to the house, above the kitchen sliding door is another sliding door behind a wraparound porch. If we believe that what this post that I just read to you from TikTok is true, and that Ethan was the first one they found, then they would have found him probably in one of these 2 areas. To me, it would suggest that Ethan did hear something going on and he left his bedroom, or he left the bedroom. That was Xana's bedroom. I don't believe he lived there, but he was probably there often enough that it was as if he lived there. Now, if Ethan were to have left his bedroom to go see what was possibly going on upstairs, he would have met this possible killer in one of these areas. Also, he could have caught the person trying to leave, which is why that door was ajar. That would lead me to think that Ethan and Xana were an afterthought. If the perpetrator came in through that kitchen sliding door, went up the stairs and killed Kaylee and Madison, and then came back down the stairs to exit through the sliding door that he came in from, or she, this would all make sense. The perpetrator met up with Ethan at the bottom of the stairs or in the kitchen, attacks Ethan, realizes shit, there's other roommates that might possibly be awake. Or maybe Xana runs out hearing this and runs back to the bedroom where she becomes the fourth victim. And after already killing 2 or possibly 3 more people than they intended on, they just wanted to get the hell out of there. Nobody else woke up. Nobody else came out. Nobody else could identify him or her. So they left. Going up to the 3rd floor, there were 2 bedrooms up there as well. And one of them was Kaylee's and the other one was Madison's. So it's possible they were lying in wait and they knew which bedroom to find Kaylee in, or both of them. It was said that Kaylee did have the most stab wounds, that she was more violently attacked than the others. Now let's talk about the VSCO post that Dylan made that people have been talking about. So if you haven't heard this rumor, it is the one where one of the surviving roommates, obviously Dylan, made a few posts on her VSCO account during the same time or right before other roommates were being murdered. Now, if you don't know what VSCO is, it's a social media app, kind of like Instagram in a way, though you can edit your photos and kind of touch them up a little bit more than you can on Instagram. But it's more used by the younger crowd, teens and early 20s. The thing about VSCO is the time that it shows you is your time zone, not the person who posted their time zone. So if you were in a Pacific time zone, you would say what your time is. If you're Eastern time zone, it would say what your time is. And up here in Central time, it would say my time, so on and so forth. Idaho actually has 2 time zones: Mountain time in the southern portion and Pacific time in the northern portion. The time zone for Moscow, Idaho is Pacific. They are up north, almost on the Washington border. And the Pacific time zone is 1 hour earlier than Mountain time, the southern portion of Idaho. The time that was reported on Dylan's VSCO account was 1:30 a.m. It was not 2:30 a.m. It was not 3:30 a.m. It was 1:30 a.m. 2 hours before the attack, as she originally told police when she got home. Well, they got home. And the murder was said to have occurred between 3 and 4 a.m. Pacific time. The only time zone that is relevant is the time zone where this murder occurred, right? So no, Dylan was not posting to her VSCO account while her roommates were being savagely attacked. So that's that. Now, developments are popping up, I swear, like every freaking hour. Every time I look, there is something else going on. Whether it's BS or it's something to really look at. It feels like with this case, it's gotten overwhelming. I'm not going to start a new case right now because of that. I kind of want to stay on this one, but we'll see. If it starts getting crazy where true crime creators start being looked at as conspiracy theorists and psychopaths that ruin the integrity of the investigation, I'm going to pull back because that's not my game. That's not how I roll. I created my channel for a few reasons, and spreading false theories and rumors is not one of them. Of course, we do have to speculate. That is how all crimes are solved, but I'm not going to just hear something and blast it out there. If I don't feel it's going to help the case in some way, I will keep my mouth shut. I wanted to bring up the Hyundai Elantra that they are looking for right now. Now, this is a white Hyundai Elantra, year 2011 to 2013. The plate is not known. Police put out a bolo on this vehicle, indicating that there could be more information known by the person driving this vehicle or the people who are inside this vehicle that night. What does this mean? Does this mean that the driver of the Hyundai Elantra is our killer, or someone inside the Hyundai Elantra is our killer? No, it does not. All it means is that this vehicle was in the vicinity of the crime around the time that it occurred, and they just want to speak to the individuals who are inside of it. Should we all go out looking for white Hyundai Elantras and harass the people driving them? No, we should not. Okay, this is another thing that came out, and this is probably the creepiest of everything. But a neighbor who lived in the large apartment complex next to the home. He came forward saying that he arrived home on the night of the attack at about 1:30 a.m. and that he went to bed at about 4 a.m. And as he was drifting off to sleep, he said that he heard a scream coming from the house. He also said, just like many of the other neighbors that have been interviewed, that the house was known to be a party house. So at that time, he really didn't think much of it. It was always loud there. People were playing music. But it also was said by him that it was particularly quiet that night. But he said now, given what happened, he contacted police thinking that maybe he was wrong and that the scream was not a party sound. It was someone in distress. And police agree that 4 a.m. is the time that the perpetrator was inside of the home. And this is another rumor I want to address. There is audio floating around by a certain YouTuber who is known for creating false evidence and accusations. And in this case, he created some false audio. This audio is allegedly, according to this YouTuber, and I don't even know why I don't want to just put his name on blast, but I don't. I'm sure you guys maybe have already heard about this, whether you follow this person or you've seen other people get duped into believing this person, but they created fake audio, or they found some audio of something and then said that it was about this and kind of insinuated that it was one of the girls screaming that night. And people were trying to figure out, does it sound like Kaylee? Could it be one of the girls? And just how creepy it is. So I have the audio. I don't even want to play it. I was going to, so that you can see just what a horrible thing this person did to put this type of audio in with this case. But at the same time, I don't want someone maybe scrolling through here just to like hear things, bits and pieces, and they don't hear me say that this is a bullshit audio clip and continue to spread this rumor. So I'm not gonna play it. But you know what? No, I'm not going to spread this shit. Okay. So anyway, this audio that is going around is not someone just screaming. It is a female saying, help me and leave me alone. It is terrifying. It sounds like right out of a scary movie. I don't know where he got this audio from. You can hear the person who's recording it breathing heavily. So I don't know if it was made up or if it was taken from another video. It could have even been taken from a scary movie for all I know. I don't care, but it is fake. So please, if you see this video circulating, please comment that it is fake so that we stop this from spreading. Okay, so back to the guy and the scream. Now that we know that the audio that is circulating about this scream is fake. He took a month to tell police about this, even though he was questioned by police that same day that this all happened. He then goes on to make the comment, I'm not sure what good it does for them now. Okay, well, you think? What exactly does he mean by that? What good it does for who now? The police? The victim? This man, Inan Harsh, also said that he noticed a vehicle that was not usually there, and he described it to be a black luxury SUV. No make, no model, no plate, but he described this vehicle as being out of place. So as you can see here, what the article said is, according to the report, Harsh previously notified police about an unfamiliar black SUV that was parked near the front of the King Road home. So I don't know if he reported that when they initially questioned him, but it goes on to say a Facebook page that appeared to belong to Harsh included a post from November 15th stated, quote, 4 killed in stabbing across street. No screams, no evidence, no trace. So like professional killers, but why on 3 sorority girls, unquote. I went and looked at his Facebook. I wanted to see that because that sounds very contradictory to his claim that he heard a scream. So in an article about him hearing a scream from the house, they also end the article by saying that he posted to Facebook 2 days later saying that there were no screams, no evidence, and no trace. And we know he didn't report this to police for a whole month. So I went to his Facebook and I found that post. As you can see here, that's not what it says. You can see it was posted by him on November 15th. You can also see it has not been edited because it would have said edited by his name. It would say, if it were edited, it says 4 killed in stabbing across street. No evidence, no trace. So like professional killers, but why on 3? I think that's supposed to be sorority. 3 sorority girls. Shit doesn't make sense. So that's the actual Facebook post. He doesn't say no screams. Why does mainstream media do shit like this? Because immediately I was like, what? That's contradicting statements, you know? But I don't know. I cannot anymore. I cannot. The misinformation is sickening. While I was on his Facebook page, I thought I might take a scroll. He also posted on November 13th, the day of, and he said, I thought living in Tweakerville was crazy. Now I'm in Greek Row. 4 people found dead in my neighbor's house. 2 days ago, he posted, so I'm looking at this today on Monday, December 12th. Well, I'm famous. I always knew this game would come. Dope ass staff and cooking videos coming with some merch, I think is what that's supposed to be, and maybe a GoFundMe. Down to barter for interviews, autographs, and services. Now, I don't know if this was a joke. I don't know if he's serious. I don't care. This is an extremely poor taste. You take a month to report a scream, and now you're literally like talking about that you're famous from this. And he posts more, so let's look at a couple more here. A day ago, he posted this, local chef shit, which whatever. Then 9 hours ago from when I'm recording this part that I'm actually inserting into a video I already made, the Reddit comments are beyond hilarious. And it shows his article about him. And the Reddit posts are more people making fun of him for being a stick juggler. As you can see at the top, if you read in the white there, PlayStation and practicing his hobby of stick juggling. Whatever. And then 9 hours ago again, he goes and posts this. Also, I'm viral, with the link to apparently his whatever the hell this is. So yeah, this is the guy that reported the screams. He is excited now that he has become viral. It's just sick. I don't know what else to say other than I can't. Something else I noticed about this apartment complex is that behind it is where the parking lot is, and that parking lot extends all the way to the back of 1122 King Road. I did want to mention it because it is very possible, in my opinion, for whoever to have done this, that they parked back there right behind the house and waited until everyone got home and settled, and then walked right through those trees and entered the home on that second level. When I know more, I will come back to this. I'm also going to look into some more things that are circulating, such as these Venmo payments that are being talked about that are linked to a very suspicious looking Instagram account, and a few other things that have come up while I was creating a script for this video. But until I have a chance to dive more into it, I don't want to speak on it. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole and read too much into things. There have also been 2 other murders in the Pacific Northwest that were very similar to these murders, and they are still unsolved. They all took place on the 13th of the month. I will be looking into that as well, because that may insinuate something totally different that has not been talked about, and that may insinuate that they have a serial killer on the loose. This theory gives me Ted Bundy vibes, especially with the sorority killing he committed at random. So I just want you guys to be aware that I am following this case very closely, and I just want to do my due diligence on reporting it. This is a fresh case, and I want to be very careful. Until then, I hope you guys have a great week, and I will talk to you guys on the next one. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. It is the best way for you to support me. So if you like the way I present cases, if you like the cases I present, if you like me and want to support me, then that is the best way to do it. I will talk to you guys later. Have a great weekend, and I will see you as soon as I can get back on here again.